going to be reading Vayechi, which means and he lived. And, um, you know, even though the portion begins and he lived, it begins with this phrase, but then we read, just like we did with Sarah, Jacob dies. So it's hinting at something that's far greater than we can understand, something that awaits us. And I was wondering,
You mean awaits us when we die?
awaits us after we die,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's when the true life begins, even
Mm.
though we want to live well here, but we know that there's something greater. And then I was thinking, because people tell me that they have trouble reading the Torah, and I understand it because I used to have trouble reading the Torah myself. That was before this, I don't know what happened, but God grabbed my heart and he changed it. And then suddenly I could read the Torah. It didn't mean I understood it all, but, and they were asking me, why should we read it and who should read it? So I know that today we live in a society that hates rules and regulations, and we don't want to be told what to do. If any leader, like we see right now with Donald Trump, President Trump, he's insistent on bringing order back into society and discipline based on morality. But he's considered a dictator. He's even accused of being like Hitler. And look what this is doing to our humanity. We have so many people experiencing anxiety and depression and illness and death, and not in easy ways. But God, in His Torah, offers us, instead of anxiety, shalom, peace. Instead of depression, joy. Instead of illness, health. And instead of death, He's offering us life, and everlasting life. And I remember Joshua, one of the lines that I love was when Joshua said, choose you this day who you will serve. So all I can suggest is for those who are listening and following, just read along with us. And don't worry if there seems to be too much information. You can listen in bite-sized portions throughout the week. You can, because I know attention spans have diminished. Even mine, even the social media has done that. We used to be able to read. Now we watch bite-sized portions of little videos, and we lose our attention too quickly. But, and if you're afraid to read the Torah because you think you won't understand it, don't be. The Torah was not written to be understood solely by scholars and rabbis. It was given to the people who had just left Egypt. They were slaves. They were not educated people. So it was meant to be a manual for all humanity to learn about our God, as opposed to all the other man-made gods. It teaches us how to follow God's rules for living a good life. So all I can say is that one person at a time, if we just get one person at a time to read the Torah, it's as if we're saving the world. That to me is how we're saving lives. So I'm going to share the screen and we're going to begin with and Jacob, and he lived. Okay, we're in Vayechi, which means and he lived. Jacob lived 17 years in the land of Egypt, so that the span of Jacob's life came to 147 years. There's so much information available to us. All we have to do is go into Google and type in a sentence, and you get all kinds of teaching, both from the Jewish perspective, from the Christian perspective. So we can go as deeply as we want with the Torah, or as just to see at the basic level what God wants to teach us. So here it says Jacob lived 17 years in the land of Egypt. The span of his life came to 147 years. Now, when the time approached for Israel to die, he summoned his son Joseph and said to him, we're still going back between Jacob and Israel. Israel is more, to me, of an eternal understanding, where Jacob lived up until the time, but Israel will live forever. He summoned his son
You're
Joseph.
talking about his name.
The
between the
name
name, not the
and
place.
the
Just for,
people.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the place, definitely. Because we're talking about um, returning to the renewed Jerusalem. We will return to this earth. For us, for Jews, heaven is not an ethereal place. Heaven is right here. It's right in the restored Garden of Eden, the earth. That's how we see it. So Joseph, it says, Israel summoned his son Joseph and said to him, do me a favor. Place your hand under my thigh as a pledge of your steadfast loyalty. Please do not bury me in Egypt. His grandfather Abraham had done exactly the same thing. His great grandfather Abraham, when he told his servant to go and find a wife, was it Abraham or was it Isaac? To find a wife for Isaac. Place your hand under my thigh. This is a very intimate thing to do. It's nobody would let you put your hand under their thigh in their private parts unless they were completely trusted.
But
When I
it's,
sorry,
sorry, Peggy.
yeah,
Uh, I guess you're going to say the reason for that is because that's where the seed is. It's not just an intimate custom. It has to do with from the generation to generation of.
yes, beautiful. Yes, Miriam. When I lie down with my fathers, take me up from Egypt and bury me in their burial place. I will do as you have spoken. And Jacob said, swear to me. So Joseph swore to him. Then Israel bowed at the head of the bed. Now, this swearing to him had more to do with also, as we'll see later on, he understood that Pharaoh would have a respect for Joseph's father. There was a respect in the Middle East for the elderly. And if Joseph had just gone to say, I want to bury my father on his own, we don't know what Pharaoh would have said. But here he's going to say, my father asked me to swear. And that's when Pharaoh, because there was still a big difference between Pharaoh and Joseph. Pharaoh was looked upon as the god, but Joseph was not. Sometimes afterwards, Joseph was told, your father is ill. So we see he didn't see him very often. So he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. When Jacob was told, your son Joseph has come to see you, Israel summoned his strength and sat up in bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, El Shaddai, the nurturing God, who appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, blessed me and said to me, I will make you fertile and numerous, making of you a community of people, a nation of people. And I will assign this land to your offspring to come for an everlasting, the land to your offspring to come for an everlasting possession. Now your two sons who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt shall be mine. Manasseh, Ephraim, and Manasseh. It's funny, he puts Ephraim first. Manasseh was the older one. He was named first, and his name means I forget all the things all my suffering, all that was done to me. And Ephraim has to do with God made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. So he says, but he's putting Ephraim first, shall be mine no less than Reuben and Simeon. Those were his first two sons by Leah, which I thought was interesting. He didn't refer to his first son as Joseph. He was just being real here. He was saying these two will be like Reuben and Simeon, and they form two tribes. Ephraim and Manasseh now would form two tribes. So it's like showing that Joseph would be receiving the double portion through his two sons. And also, it formed 13 tribes now because one of them, Levi, would not receive land. So they would still remain the 12 tribes. Got it?
What, okay, what was I going to say? Okay, I'm sort of a bit, just give me a second.
I
Came
know
to shall
there's a lot of
find what
information.
shall be mine. When you say, okay,
Joseph was now not going to be only Joseph, he was going to be Ephraim and Manasseh, making two tribes out of one.
okay, but some people don't they consider those, well, that they still are 12 tribes and somehow Joseph, that all of those are included and it still adds up to 12.
It adds up to 12 because of Ephraim and Manasseh, because there was Levi. But the Levites were taken out of the equation. They were not to be given land. Each tribe would be given land.
But weren't they still considered a tribe? There is the tribe of Levi. It's just that's the
But they
rule.
weren't given land. They weren't allotted land. I'm talking
No,
about
I understand that.
this is very physical now. Just like Reuben and Simeon were physically Jacob's firstborn.
I guess what I'm asking is I always understood, or I think I always understood that uh, the 12, even though Levi was not given land or counted in that same way, he was still one of the, when people list the 12 tribes, they list him as well.
No, they don't.
They
You,
don't.
no, you have to look and see. He was taken out because he wasn't given land. Remember when Joshua went over, each tribe would be allotted land. These 12 tribes would have to take care of Levi because he wasn't given land,
I didn't know though he wasn't counted in that list.
not to receive land. This is very physical. They
Right,
were
but he was
13, he
still,
made the 13th tribe. With this were 13 tribes. We can talk about it later,
yeah,
Marie.
okay.
Okay. But progeny, those who come after you, born after them shall be yours. So anybody born after these two, Ephraim and Simeon, would belong, Ephraim and Manasseh would belong to Joseph, but they would not be considered tribes. They would not come from Jacob. They shall be recorded by name, by the names of their brothers in their inheritance. I do this because when I was returning from Padam, Rachel died to my sorrow while I was journeying in the land of Canaan, when still some distance short of Ephrat, and I buried her there on the road to Ephrat, which is now Bethlehem. Noticing Joseph's sons, Israel asked, "Who are these?" And Joseph said to his father, "These are my sons, whom God has given me here. Bring them up to me, that I may bless them." Now Israel's eyes were dim with age, and he couldn't see. So Joseph brought them close to him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, "I never expected to see you again, and here God has let me see your children as well." Joseph then removed them from his knees and bowed low with his face to the ground. Joseph took the two of them, Ephraim with his right hand and to Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left hand to Israel's right, and brought them close to him. But Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, though he was the younger, and his left hand he put on Manasseh's head, thus crossing his hands, although Manasseh was the older one, he was the firstborn. So we see, we would wonder, why would he do that? What he couldn't see them. He didn't know anything about them. Why would he do such a thing? And why would he even say the name first? So I looked it up to see um, what this would mean, why he did that. And what I read was from Rabbi Sachs, Jonathan Sachs. And he was, for me, a brilliant rabbi. And remember, Manasseh means God made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household. And Ephraim means God made me fruitful. So the first one, forget. Now, Jacob's blessing of Ephraim over Manasseh had nothing to do with their age and everything to do with their names. These were the first two children of his family to be born in exile, signaling to all future generations that there would be a constant tension between the desire to forget, in other words, we would assimilate, we would forget about the hope of a future return, and we would forget the knowledge that we are part of another story, that our ultimate home is somewhere else. And I think he wasn't only talking about Israel, the state, the place, but beyond the renewed Jerusalem. So then the child of forgetting, Manasseh, may have blessings because Jacob would bless them, but greater are the blessings of a child, Ephraim, who remembers the past and the future of which he is a part. And this really made me think. Later on, the second commandment would be written, where it says, "For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the parents upon the children to the third and fourth generation of those who reject me, who forget me, but showing kindness to the thousand generation of those who love me, remember me, and keep my commandments." And I was thinking, well, what does that mean for me today? Well, in my life, my great grandparents, who were financially blessed, they had to leave Kiev. They had to leave Ukraine due to pogroms. They were forgetting Manasseh. They were forgetting their past, like Manasseh, and their God in that foreign land. When we live in a foreign land, we forget our God. Their children, my grandparents, kept Jewish tradition, but none of their children taught it to their children, our parents. My parents went even further away from the Torah. That's 3 generations. Then came me, the 4th generation, who doesn't want to forget. I want to remember, represented by Ephraim, and learn from the past. I became interested in finding all my family and the Torah in my later years. And I see how God shows me kindness in miraculous ways. So this is a progression. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but this is what Ephraim and Manasseh mean for us. Manasseh was forgetting. Ephraim was remembering.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But it's amazing how so many times in the Torah, it's not the firstborn that is chosen,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. We know that Reuben was the firstborn, but he wasn't chosen because of what he did to his father's concubine, trying to get the position of firstborn. He took his concubine and slept with her. That was wrong. And then Simeon and Levi, both of them, were not chosen because of what they did to the men of Shechem when they raped Dinah, when the leader. And then we look at Judah. Judah wasn't chosen yet, but he will be chosen in the line, through the line of King David, through the line of who would come later, who we believe to be the Messiah of his day, the Savior of his day, who is Yeshua, but not a Christian salvation, a Jewish saving, just like we look at Joseph here. Joseph was a savior of the people physically. He saved us through grain. He saved us physically. Yeshua saved us by bringing us back to the Torah, which would ultimately spread throughout the whole world.
But that was also, I know what you're saying about the difference in the Christian salvation and Jewish salvation, but there's always a spiritual component to everything.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can't
Yeah.
eliminate that,
No, but
you
he
know,
didn't have to
bringing us
die.
back to the
He didn't
Torah
have to
is
die
the,
to save us.
What's this?
He didn't need to die to save us.
No. I understand that, but even in the Jewish concept of salvation, you can't. It's holistic. You can't eliminate the
Yes,
spiritual component. Yeshua bringing us back to the Torah is giving us the water of life.
exactly. Yes, you're right. You're right.
He did the thing of dying for your life,
No, Brian.
like a friend.
No, no,
You jump
Brian.
in front of that bullet.
No, Brian, that's a Christian understanding. Not, I know you still believe that, and you're free to believe whatever you want. We don't tell anybody what to believe and how to believe it, but he you have to understand that, and that's for another day. Okay? Not for here right now. But we'll explain it to you again. And Jacob,
I jumped in front of pick up a child in the road, was going in the road. So I laid down my life to save the child.
I understand what you're saying, but but we'll talk about it another time, okay? Because you're not, you may save the child, but you're losing your life. Has very little to do with what Jesus did for mankind. I know what you're saying. He blessed Joseph, saying, "The God in whose ways my father Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd from my birth to this day." That to me is one of the most powerful lines in the scriptures, because when we look at the shepherd, I don't know how often I think of how God is my shepherd. He leads me. He leads me in the path of righteousness. A shepherd makes way for the sheep, who are very stupid animals. We are stupid animals. And God is our shepherd who guides us and watches us and protects us in amazing, marvelous ways. So the God whose ways my father Abraham and Isaac walked, who is my shepherd, the messenger, Malach Hagoel, the Redeemer, who has redeemed me from all harm. Bless these boys, Ephraim and Manasseh, and in them may my name be recalled. In other words, may their lives represent who I am. The names of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, may they be teeming multitudes upon the earth. When Joseph saw that his father was placing his right hand on Ephraim's head, he thought he was wrong. So he took hold of his father's hand to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's. "Not so, father," Joseph said, "for the other is the firstborn. Place your right hand on his head." But his father objected, saying, "I know, my son, I know. He too shall become a people, and he too shall be great. But his younger brother shall be greater than him, and his offspring shall be plentiful enough for nations." So he blessed them that day, saying, "By you shall Israel invoke blessings." In other words, the people of Israel shall forever be blessed. Remember, when we read, this is further down, when Balak hired Bilam, a Gentile prophet, to curse Israel, he couldn't, because Israel is blessed. The only thing that could take away the blessings for a time would be our disobeying our God, turning away from Him, and allowing other gods to come into our lives. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. We say this to this very day, every Shabbat, when we place hands on our children, on our sons. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, "I am about to die, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your ancestors, to the land of your fathers. I am about to die, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers." Now, he's saying it to Joseph, but it won't be Joseph who goes back. It'll be his descendants, the people of Israel. And now I assign to you one portion more than to your brothers, which I wrested from the Amorites with my sword and bow, meaning a portion of land. Oops. And Jacob called his sons and said, "Come together, that I may tell you what will happen to you in the days to come." Now he's saying what he's going to tell us what happened, what will happen to them, but he doesn't really say what will happen. He talks a little bit about them, and to tell you the truth, I don't understand everything that he's saying here, and it would take me time to research everything. And anyone whose heart is leading them in that way, we can find answers because the Torah and the Tanakh does give us answers. So he says, "Assemble together and listen, O sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you're my firstborn, which means you're the might and the first fruit of my vigor, exceeding in rank and exceeding in honor." That's what he was born for. "But you are unstable as water, and you shall excel no longer, because you mounted your father's bed. You brought disgrace. My couch he mounted when he slept with Bilhah, because he wanted the position, he wanted to take it. Simeon and Levi are a pair. Their weapons are tools of lawlessness because of what they did." Brian, you want to put yourself on mute, honey, so when you speak or someone comes into the room, we don't hear it. Thanks. "Do not let my person be included in their council, for not my being be counted in their assembly. For when they were angry, they slew a man, and when they pleased, they maimed an ox. Cursed be their anger so fierce, and their wrath so relentless. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel." And then we have the fourth brother, Judah. "Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the nape of your foals." He's referring to the future here when we will see from him comes King David. "Your father's sons shall bow low to you." Judah is a lion's whelp. On prey, my son, have you grown. He crouches, lies down like a lion, like a lioness. Who dares to arouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, so that tribute shall come to him, and the homage of his people be his. So David will come from him, and the future king of the spiritual king of Israel. He tethers his donkey to a vine, his donkey's foal to a choice vine. He washes his garment in wine, his robe in blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, his teeth are whiter than milk. Zebulun shall dwell by the seashore. Maybe I come from Zebulun because I love the ocean. He shall be a haven for ships, and his flank shall rest on Sidon. Issachar is a strong-boned donkey, crouching among the sheepfolds. When he saw how good was security and how pleasant was the country, he bent his shoulder to the burden and became a toiling serf. So he, Issachar, preferred to stay on the land than to send people to war. He was a peaceful tribe. Dan shall govern his people as one of the tribes of Israel. He shall be a servant by the road, a viper by the path, that bites the horses.
Peggy, sorry, you said servant.
Serpent by the road. I didn't mean serpent.
No, I know.
Dan shall be a serpent. I thought that's what I said, but by the road, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels, so that his rider is thrown backwards. I await your deliverance and our deliverance is Yeshua Techa. I think that's one of the reasons we look to Yeshua. His name was not by accident. He would be the one to deliver our people by bringing us back to the Torah, not by dying for our sins, by bringing us back to the Torah. I wait for your deliverance, O Yud-He Vav-He. Because only Yud-He Vav-He, God of Israel, through his Torah, only God can bring deliverance to us. Gad shall be raided by raiders, but he shall raid at their heels. Asher's bread shall be rich, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is a hind, a deer let loose, which yields lovely fawns. Joseph, now it says here Joseph is a wild donkey, but in the other versions, it says, hang on, let me find it, because it would depend on the Hebrew. Where are you? Yeah. Why is Joseph's blessing that he is the foal of a wild donkey? Others say that Joseph is a fruitful vine, because this word here, prat, could mean, it doesn't tell us what the last single letter is. It could be either an aleph or a hey. If it's a hey, it would mean fruit, and if it's an aleph, it would mean a donkey, like Ishmael was. So, for whatever reason, Sepharia put a wild donkey, but I don't see Joseph at all as a wild donkey. It's hard to understand why Sepharia would choose to translate it that way. Archers bitterly assailed him. They shot at him and harried him, yet his bow stayed taut, and his arms were made firm by the hand of the mighty one of Jacob. There the shepherd, the rock of Israel, the God of your father's house, who helps you, and El Shaddai, who blesses you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that couches below, blessings of the breast and the womb. The blessings of your father surpass the blessings of my ancestors to the outmost bounds of the eternal hills. May they rest on the head of Joseph, on the brow of the elect of his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he consumes the foe, and in the evening he divides the spoil. It's interesting that he's spoken of as a ravenous wolf. I don't know much about how Benjamin lived his life. All these were the tribes of Israel, 12 in number. And this is what their father said to them as he bade them farewell, addressing to each a parting word appropriate to him. Let me go back for a minute. So we see it's like he puts Simeon and Levi together as a pair. At this point, we still have 12. It doesn't, because he's not including Ephraim and Manasseh in this. He's including his sons. Okay. All these were tribes of Israel, 12 in number. And this is what their father said to them as he bade them farewell, addressing to each a parting word appropriate to him. Then he instructed them, saying, I am about to be gathered to my relatives, to my fathers, my kin. Bury me with my fathers in the cave which is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, the cave which is in the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought to bury Sarah, and for all future generations, facing Mamre in the land of Canaan, the field that Abraham bought from Ephron the Hittite for a burial site. There Abraham and his wife Sarah were buried. There Isaac and his wife Rebekah were buried. And there I buried Leah. couldn't bury Rachel because she had already died, and they buried her on the road to Ephrat, on the road to Jerusalem. The field and the cave in it, bought from the Hittites. When Jacob finished his instructions to his sons, he drew his feet into bed and breathed his last. He was gathered to his kin. Joseph flung himself upon his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. Then Joseph ordered the physicians in his service to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel. If they had been living in Israel, there would be no such thing. But because Joseph lived under the system of Egypt, he would embalm him, and it would take time to bring him back. It would take far more than usually the 1 or 2 days. You have to bury them right away. But this wasn't part of their life yet. It required 40 days for such is the full period of embalming. The Egyptians bewailed him, mourned him 70 days.
That's interesting. I guess, I mean, they did it to honor Joseph, I guess.
Exactly. That's all they knew. They didn't know yet about how God hadn't given us the rules yet for how fast we needed to be buried. You know, we have 1 or 2 days and we have to be in the ground.
No, what I'm saying is the Egyptians bewailed him. So
Yes,
they're doing this to honor Joseph.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying. The Egyptians mourned him.
Like the fact that that's added, why would that be added? Unless, like, it's important, when you see something, I say, oh, like, it's sort of shocking,
Yeah, it's true. That's beautiful. It's true. In honor of Joseph, you're right. And when the period of, because he basically saved them. Joseph
Right.
saved their lives. And when the mourning period was over, imagine 40 days. And they mourned him 70 days. 70 days. That's like 30, 60, more than 2 months.
2.5 months, almost 2.5, 7 and wait a minute, two
No.
2.5 months almost, yeah.
Well, yeah, because 60 is 2 months and 10 days. Yeah. And then they could leave and take him home. When the wailing period was over, when mourning was over, Joseph spoke. It doesn't say he spoke to Pharaoh. He spoke to Pharaoh's court. In the Hebrew, it's Beit, the home of Pharaoh. All those who surrounded Pharaoh. It's like even Joseph was not considered a god. So he spoke to Pharaoh through the court. And he says, I love this, there's an expression, na matzati chen benechem. Matzati chen be'enai is like, may your eye, may you show grace through your eyes. It's an expression in Hebrew, beautiful expression for do me a favor. It's far deeper. Lay this appeal before Pharaoh. My father made me swear, saying, I'm about to die. Be sure to bury me in the grave which I made for myself in the land of Canaan. Now, therefore, let me go up and bury my father. Then I shall return. So he made sure that Pharaoh would know that his father made him swear. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he made you promise an oath. So Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the officials of Pharaoh, the senior members of his court, and all of Egypt's dignitaries. So this whole group of officials of Pharaoh didn't go, together with all of Joseph's household, his brothers, and his father's household, but their children, their flocks, and their herds remained in the region of Goshen. This way they could be assured that they would all come back. Chariots, too, and horsemen went up with him. It was a huge troop. They went to the Goren means the threshing floor of Ha'atad, which is beyond the Jordan. They held there a very great and solemn lamentation, and he observed a mourning period of 7 days for his father. It's interesting that he would have done that for 7 days. I don't know why. Was this already a custom among
Interesting.
the people at this time? Because we sit Shiva. Or is it because, is he forming this custom at this
Yeah,
time?
right. It's true.
Yeah.
We don't know, I guess.
And when the Canaanite inhabitants of the land saw the mourning at Goren, or Ha'atad, the threshing floor of Atad, they said, "This is a solemn mourning on the part of the Egyptians." That's why it was named Abel Mitzrayim, which is beyond the Jordan. Thus his sons did for him as he had instructed them. His sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried them in the cave of the field of Machpelah, the field near Mamre, which Abraham had bought for a burial site from Ephron the Hittite. After burying his father, Joseph returned to Egypt, he and his brothers and all who had gone up with him to bury his father. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "Oi, what if Joseph still bears a grudge against us and pays us back for all the wrong we did him?" So they sent this message to Joseph. "Before his death, your father left this instruction. So shall you say
Didn't
to
they
Joseph."
come with him? They came with him, though, no?
Yeah, but when they came back, they were
Okay.
afraid that Joseph would take it out because
Right, right,
Jacob wasn't there anymore.
right, right. No, I
And
understand. Okay.
yeah, so now he's saying, yeah, because they needed to come back. "So shall you say to Joseph, forgive, I urge you, the offense and the guilt of your brothers who treated you so harshly. Therefore, please forgive the offense of the servants of the God of your fathers." And Joseph was in tears as they spoke to him. His brothers went to him themselves, flung themselves before him, and said, "We are prepared to be your slaves." But Joseph said, "Don't be afraid. Who am I, God? Am I a substitute for God? Besides, although you intended me harm, God intended it for good, so as to bring about the present result, the survival of many people.
I love this line.
Yeah. Let's read it again. Read it, Miriam.
Besides, although you intended me harm, God intended it for good, so as to bring about the present result, the survival of many people.
Can you continue?
Okay. And so fear not. I will sustain you and your dependents. Thus he reassured them, speaking kindly to them. So Joseph and his father's household remained in Egypt. Joseph lived 110 years. Joseph lived to see children of the third generation of Ephraim, the children of Machir, son of Manasseh, were likewise born upon Joseph's knees.
I just was thinking about this third generation again. When I think of that second commandment, it has to do with worshiping false gods. That God would not bless. Even curses would come upon those who it says again, I'm visiting the iniquity of the parents upon the children to the third and fourth generation of those who reject me, and showing kindness to the 1,000 generations. So I wondered here, this is the third generation with Machir. And I wonder what his life was like. Did he forget God? Because it was 3 generations, like my great grandparents, who left Kiev. What was like life for Machir? Because the further you go away from seeing God working in our lives, the more we turn from him and we forget him. But then in the third and fourth generation after, something happens and we come back to him. This seems to be a cycle.
Mhm.
Go
At
ahead.
length, Joseph said to his brothers, I'm about to die. God will surely take notice of you and bring you up from this land to the land promised on oath to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. So Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, when God has taken notice of you, you shall carry up my bones from here. Joseph died at the age of 110 years, and he was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt.
So Joseph asked the brothers to carry his bones up from here. But the sons of Israel all died there because they would be living at least I don't know how many more years, a couple of hundred more, until, remember, from the time of Abraham, when Abraham had that vision um, that our people would become slaves in Egypt. This hadn't happened yet. So it was, the rabbis say there was over 400 years between that vision and and um, when we would actually become slaves. Hold on, somebody is sending me a. Okay, I guess Richard is gone.
Sorry, could you just repeat, like, how?
Joseph made Israel, the sons, his brothers, swear to carry his
Right,
bones, but they didn't. The ones who
no,
carried his bones was Moses when they
right,
left.
right, right,
So when
right.
Moses left, from that time, remember they say it was over 400 years
So,
between. Sorry, Mary.
no, that's okay. 400 years between.
The time that Abram was given the vision to when Moses left. It wasn't.
Abraham was given what vision?
Remember that it was called Brit HaBeterim, when it was called the covenant of the parts,
Right,
and Abraham was put to sleep at that time,
right.
and God gave him a dream, and in the dream it was very dark days for Israel, that they would be slaves.
Okay,
Yeah, so that was a 400-year period between there and the time that Moses left.
okay,
At least I think so, or at least time till they were made slaves. Because I think the slavery only lasted about 70 years.
okay,
So Joseph died at the age of 110, and he was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt. You know, this for me, yes, Brian,
What's this reading called?
Vayechi, and he lived.
I live.
Yeah, it's talking about Joseph. It was the same thing with Sarah. Sarah that says, Chaye Sarah, Sarah's life, and then immediately it speaks about her death. Here, Jacob lived, and we're at the part where he's going to die. You know, there's so many things in these portions, and I feel extremely inadequate to be able to bring the understanding of these words. So, but basically, my heart is to show us that anybody can read the Torah. We may not understand everything, but we can understand enough to have our lives changed.
but that's the
And
most important thing.
that's the most important thing, because when you have too much, sometimes when you get buried in too much knowledge, too much, um, you almost forget how to live it, but you're just amassing knowledge. I remember people would sit and take notes, all kinds of notes. But their lives didn't change because they didn't apply anything. And I had an experience of that this week because I really do look at God as the shepherd of my life. And it's taken me 35 years to come to this understanding. That's a long time. And you know, when we say the prayer, the Lord is my shepherd. In other words, he goes before us. He prepares a way. This week, on Monday, for the last few weeks, I've been suffering with really bad neck pains. And it's not only physical. A lot of it was emotional and spiritual because they're all three are connected. And so I had an appointment with my chiropractor on Monday. And it was the day of, it had rained the night before and the weather had, the temperature had dropped. And when I got to his office, it was a sheet of ice. I couldn't even get out of my car. So there were two parking lots. One was a full sheet of ice. You didn't have to pay. And then there was another part that was paid parking run by the city. So I put money in the meter and I went in, but I had to walk, like you said, Miriam, like a penguin. Honestly, it was so slippery. So I got in and I felt much better. There was an elderly gentleman who was there in the office who was just before me, and he was walking with a cane. And he left before me. And when I left, I was standing at the door, and I was thinking of having to go back to my car on this ice. And I thought of that line from Esa Enai, Shir Ma'alot, I will not let your foot be moved. And I said to God, please do not allow my foot to slip. And I see this man with the cane standing at the end of the walkway, which had been salted. But he was standing there on the sidewalk and he wasn't moving. So I came to him and I said, yeah, it looks pretty hard to walk on this. And he said, well, we need to go further down and there it'll be easier. So, and I had thought it would be so nice that if I had somebody there I can hold their arms. So at least the two of us could walk together. And then he took my arm and we were walking very slowly. And we got to the place where he could stop. I had asked him, do you have a lift? He says, I'm waiting for an Uber. But he needed to wait for it by the container where we had walked to. So I left him there. And then I was thinking, okay, now what do I do? I have to get to my car. And when I had opened my door, it was a sheet of ice. In that moment, a city truck appeared with plowing the snow, but also spraying salt. So I waved him down and I asked him, he spoke French. I waved him down and I spoke to him in French. Would you please, I can't get into my car because it's all salt. I need salt here in front. He says, attends une minute, wait a minute. He pulled the whole big truck. When I had pulled in at the beginning, there were all cars surrounding me. Now there wasn't a car. So there was a place for him to pull this truck in front of me. The salt he sprayed in front of my car, on the side of my car, and I was able to get into my car. I looked at this man, the one with the cane who walked me down to the path, and I called him my angel. I looked at the other guy up in the truck. He opened his windows. Ça va? C'est mieux? I said, tu es mon ange. You're an angel. And I got into my car and I just bowed my head, thanking God for being my shepherd, going before me to send me two angels who helped me get into my car. and I was able to drive home because the roads are great in Montreal, at least on the highway where I went. And that's what God does. Every one of us are faced with situations that we don't know how we're going to handle. Some of them are just too tough for us. But one of the things that he teaches us through his Torah, I was with every one of your forefathers. And even when they made mistakes, even when they did the wrong things, I never abandoned them. I was always with them. And that's really all we need to know from the Torah. And every time these things happen, like what happened to me on Monday, it helps me trust him more. It doesn't mean that more trials aren't coming ahead, and some of the trials will be, again, bigger than anything that I think I can handle. The Torah is a book of life to all those who hold on to it. Just like we say every Shabbat, the Torah is a tree of life to those who take hold of it. So let us take hold of these words as much as we can understand. And the more we read it, the more we get to understand. So even though I feel inadequate to teach it, there are still people who know a lot less than I do, so I can bring it to them. And to those who need to know more, there are always teachers out there who can take
But
it
even
to higher
though
levels.
it's not even, it's not whether people know more or not, really. It's just so people should regularly hear it.
Yes.
That's a way of getting people, a nice way, because there are always nice discussions on it and anyone can contribute, but of hearing the word of life, because it changes us when it becomes a part of us.
Yes, it does. It changes us physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, in every aspect of our beings. The Torah changes us when we allow it, when we take a step of faith and enter from faith into bitachon, into trust. Our journey is all about learning to trust him. That's what this portion is about. There's, information I could give you is because I had questions like, what does 17 and 22 mean in the lives of Jacob? Well, it's there. Why did Jacob cross his hands and bless Ephraim before Manasseh? There are answers there. Whatever we Google, we can find answers to. But the simple, basic, simple message is trust him. Learn to trust him. And it's amazing what happens in our lives. Brian, you had your hand up before. Did you have a question or you're okay? You forgot? That's okay. Yes, Jerry.
Okay, I'm going to make a comment.
Okay.
So, hi. First of all, say hi, Brian and Miriam.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, girls. And guys. So, it was your disposition and loving kindness of your animal and your godly soul that emanated from you, Peggy, that attracted these other souls, and that's why they came to help you. They felt your loving kindness, both these people, and that's why they helped you.
I believe that too, because
And
I thought of how I was with them, and how that's true. But that comes from also allowing God's light to shine
I'm
through.
sure you asked these people in a
Oh,
beautiful,
yes.
loving, godly way. You weren't
Yes.
you weren't abrupt in a kind, importuning way, if you like.
Yes.
It's and that's what you have
And
that
not only, and
at that
acknowledging,
time. At that time, anyhow.
yes, and acknowledging what they did, thanking them. Yes.
And
So,
you are that way. Sometimes if I mention something and if you like it, you always acknowledge that. So that is a part of your character. I didn't say, certainly a part of your character.
well, I will continue, although there are times I honestly feel that I'm far from qualified from doing this.
No, Peggy, that's not, remember we talked about it?
Yeah, we did. It
We,
doesn't mean I always remember.
but the reason for this group is, I mean, there are a lot of wonderful teachers and a lot of not wonderful teachers, but this is a way of disseminating just the Torah that a lot of our people have not, they just don't read anymore for
Yeah.
whatever reason, or they rarely read it.
Yeah.
This is a way, and it's peppered with a lot of richness and rich comments from all of us, including you. But your job and your mandate isn't to be another teacher. You're by
Right.
nature a teacher, but that's not saying that the purpose of this is only to teach. It's not that, you said yourself, it's a community. We're listening together and offering each one of us has stuff to contribute.
You
And
know,
The reading
it's
for today.
pardon?
This is the reading for today. That the
This is for this coming Shabbat. We're going to listen to Rabbi's message on
this
Shabbat.
is that's what you showed for. What's his name here?
Pardon me?
What's his? I forgot his name.
Who?
He just read something. Is that the one he did? What they were doing for
Jerry,
Saturday?
You're talking about Jerry?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the reading for Saturday.
Yeah, that's a reading for Shabbat.
And what's the half Torah reading for that?
First Kings,
we're
2.
reading, me and Brian.
Yeah, First Kings 2. You know you're reading this week, Brian, eh?
I'm reading.
Yeah, I sent it to you so you can practice it.
Oh.
Take some time to practice, okay?
So I can't have
You what?
I can't go down. For the,
No, you can't go down for schmaltzering.
yeah.
The now I lost my train of thought.
Rewind.
Rewind. Yeah. Anyway, it's gone. So let us continue. We're going next week to be in what is called the Roman New Year. I usually don't wish people Happy New Year because we already have 4.
No, it's tomorrow.
No, tomorrow's the 31st. Yeah, tomorrow is the Eve.
Eve, right? Okay,
The
it's 2
eve of,
days, 2 days.
yeah. Thursday is
And
the
tomorrow you can make time travel.
January 1st, and it's Brian's birthday on
Oh,
January 1st. He was the first baby of his year.
Oh
wait a
Born
boy,
minute.
oh
It's
boy.
it's
Even though
January
it was
1st.
20 seconds
January
late.
1st. What?
Ah,
Even though it was 20 seconds late, it was still the first baby.
You were the first baby born in Montreal in January 1st, 1949, right?
Right.
Happy birthday
day
to
to
you.
you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
Happy
birthday, dear
dear
Brian.
Happy
Happy birthday
birthday
to you and many more.
Oh,
All
Well,
right, my friends. So I want to say goodbye to 2025. We'll say hello to 2026, which is a pagan holiday. I don't really care about it. I'm working on January the 1st. But I wish you a happy birthday again, Brian. And I'll say good night and we'll see you guys
very well.
later.
Oh, your birthday's past the 25th. Okay.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Brian. And that we said happy birthday to you, Jerry.
Yeah.
and to you guys too. We wish a happy.
You wanted to buy a jacket for me? Windbreaker?
Who? You want us to
Miriam.
buy you? You want Jerry to buy you a jacket?
No, Miriam.
You want me to buy you a jacket
Were you going to get something to
for your
wear?
for your birthday?
Call for my birthday. Look for a bearskin jacket with pockets.
I'm not far from making it yet.
They don't make them big enough for the pipik, Brian.
But they have sizes there. They could be the size that's there. Because they have to make it for lots of people.
Yeah, I know, but you're a 50
There's
you're a
lot of pockets.
52-inch waist right now, my dear boy. I don't think they make them in your size.
Well, you could get a bear cub, Miriam, and let it grow. You know.
We better start knitting.
It will have to be a grizzly bear.
Well, I'll check it out, Brian. We'll check it out.
It's in there. When you look on YouTube, it's called the bearskin.
I've seen it. It looks wonderful. I'll check out how big they come in.
Okay.
As big as a bear, maybe.
A grizzly bear.
A grizzly bear. All right.
Kodiak.
Good night. Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Thank you.
God bless you all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.